Yep.
Hi guys, this is yet another session on the initiative, and as usual, again we have Shiv and Alex, Dr. Shiv and GM
Hi,
Alex,
everyone.
And we'll start with one of my interesting games I've played against Grandmaster GEORG Meier, who played black, and GEORG Meier was like I believe he was amongst the top 20 players in the world, and he was also the strongest player from Germany. And the reason I picked this game is because there's a lot of initiative elements to it, and so you can see my sort of FM commentary as I played this game and recall notes during the game, and you can also see GM commentary and Alex, picking on my moves and hopefully my opponents too. So the funny thing is I started the game with one knight f3, and it's sort of Alex is already puzzled. So the reason I started with one knight f3 is even in those days I was a part-time chess player. I had a full-time job, and I don't have that much time to study theory. But the weirdest thing was I got like some book on knight f3 and the reti and some interesting aggressive setups. So I thought maybe I could prepare this and I could play it out. And in the game, it turned out to be an okay decision. But overall, if you're playing against strong players, it's a bit silly to prepare a new opening just before a tournament.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, against stronger players, you have to just trust yourself and try to play your style. This is a mistake I made against Krumnik. I played a very solid line, which I didn't know. I was afraid to go into main lines, and I got crushed in it. And this is a lesson what I learned from that game. I think we'll be covering that game in some other video.
And your game against Krumnik, was it a classical game or was it a rapid game?
Yeah, it was a classical game. Yeah, I played d4, knight f3, bishop g5, and it was too solid. I don't play that type of positions like e3, c3, knight d2. I mean, and against him, I just didn't want to play main lines. I was scared to play like main Limzo Indian, and yeah, he took over the initiative very early on, and yeah, he never let it go.
Oh, definitely.
So that's the lesson I learned from that game. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in this game, it's sort of interesting. I played knight f3, d5, c4. d4. So this is basically, it's sort of interesting. c4. I almost expected him to play e6 here. I thought, hey, he's going to play Queen's Gambit. And I was actually thinking I had to play like a Catalan or something. But then he immediately plays d4. And so one of the things I was hoping in this game was still to try to unbalance the position a little bit, because to be true to my style. So I played g3.
What about b4? I think b4 is the move. Right? Again, I'm trying not to look at the notation, and I don't know my theory.
Yeah, very good point. b4 is playable. I just thought it wasn't playable right here, and I don't remember the reasons for this.
Black has many moves. Actually, black even has moved g5 and f6. So this is very weird looking.
Exactly.
I don't know theory.
I didn't see g5 to be honest, but I saw f6 and e5 as a possibility.
Yeah.
G5 is interesting. Just g5 right away.
I think so. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I don't play this line with either color, but this is what I remember. I think g5 exists.
It's like a Benko Gambit on the king side or something.
Right. Can you check whether this move exists? What does this Lela Zero think? I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Wow. Oh my God. This is like shocking to me. All right. So when we're just trying to analyze the game, can you believe that Lela Zero, g5? First of all, it's a playable move, and but for me, looking at computer chess, this is really like a revolution, because g5, and it thinks that white has a slight advantage at queen a4 check 54%. But note something interesting. Generally, when white's playing, white has a small advantage, 54% or so.
Now g5 is the worst position, by the way. Taking the pawn is the worst position.
Exactly, yeah. So
that's crazy.
I take g5. That's
actually black wins material back anyways, so it's like a double attack. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, double attack again, and then take on b4, and I guess knight f3, probably black displays e4. That's probably the idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Having a big advantage. So and if d3, bishop b4. So essentially, g5 is a big time candidate move, and this is really surprising, because I don't know. I expected it's a candidate move for humans, but for computers, it just shows that hey, maybe our natural moves are becoming computers' natural moves too. That's interesting.
You can say not to play it. You played g3.
I didn't play b4. I mean, I thought we can play b4 later. So I just thought g3, and I was actually trying to follow some book preparation here. So bishop g2, e5, castle, knight f6, and now the idea was to play d3 and b4. Okay, so here black is threatening e4. Actually, black may not immediately be threatening e4, because you can play knight e1 and d3.
Or knight g5 and d3. Yeah. Try to make it more concrete. Yeah.
Even better. And so here I played d3, which may not be the best move, but on the other hand, there may not be an alternative move.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems very logical to me. Can you play b4 right away? I don't think so, right? So yeah, d3 makes sense to me.
Yeah, d3 might be okay. So then You played
There's
bishop.
an interesting line, by the way. Very typical. If we play b4, I think black has, yeah, actually, what happens with the b4? Because if he plays with the bishop, do we have knight e5, queen e4 check, which is a typical idea.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. Yeah, definitely very interesting. Actually, the more I think of it, of course, I was probably worried about.
Right,
b4.
yeah, e4, then I found knight g5.
Knight g5, yeah, it may not be that bad. Maybe it's playable, actually.
Yeah, I have no clue what's going on. But yeah, maybe black can just take bishop b4, knight e4, and castle. Yeah, it's
so
fine.
Actually,
Oh, so it's good for black.
Black is a bit better, but
right.
It doesn't seem that much worse for me. I'm actually really curious why this is so much
But our
worse.
pieces are so bad, I mean, right? In a way.
No? Maybe that's like, no, I think the bishop h3, I think this is the magic move, not magic move, but at least the initiative move. And yeah, so that I think
yeah,
rook e1, a3, yeah. So maybe the white pieces are just maybe not well placed. I don't know. It doesn't seem that dangerous, but maybe the point is.
I mean, the piece is just not coming out into the game properly, right? And, yeah.
Maybe that's
black has more space.
D3. Yeah, you can't play D3. So.
And if you play bishop a3, black maybe can play a5. If you play bishop a3, for example, I thought like it was just a suggestion. Yeah, a5 is not the strongest move. Bishop a5 is even stronger. With the idea to prevent the knight from coming out, there is no move d3. Maybe black wants to castle long. I don't know. Because if you play bishop a5, you can castle short.
Bishop e1, I see. I think this is the problem. Knight just cannot develop. So bishop a3, wow, this is just crazy. It's not something that's easy to see.
Right.
Yeah, so
before there's idea like this.
Yeah, so maybe the problem in this position is if you play b4, if you play really aggressive chess, black is well developed and there's not that much for white. And maybe the problem is white's pieces are not sufficient to develop to start activity like b4.
Right. No, this makes total sense to me. We open the diagonal for the bishop, and maybe we want to play b4 on the next move because we also prevented black's move e4.
Yeah.
So let's say black plays some move like bishop d6. If black plays bishop d6, I think we can play b4 perhaps.
Yeah, no, exactly. He played bishop d6.
Oh, actually, okay. Maybe.
Yeah, so maybe b4 is possible. Yeah, I didn't consider it right away. b4, what happens? That's knight b4. Take on e5 and queen e5.
Maybe you can play knight b4. Yeah, maybe knight b4 works.
Knight e5.
And there's knight c6 in the end. This doesn't work for white. Yeah, queen a4, knight c6.
Yeah,
take and bishop d7.
Take. Yes, exactly. Bishop d7, and then there's nothing, and then black's a piece up. So this is a good tactic to watch out for. It could work with some slightly different position. So you can't play b4. So I just played knight a3 with the idea of knight c2 and then playing b4.
Which is typical move, yes. It's sort of like I don't know, like Benoni position, right? Like where black plays knight a6, knight c7. So here's knight a3, knight c2.
Yeah, it's like a reverse Benoni, and it's
right.
So knight c2, he played rook e8.
Okay.
And here I played rook b1, so I think to play b4. And here he actually played a move that is not in the books, and at least felt like a novelty. I'm sure this is not like a full novelty, but it's definitely a rare move.
So the first move that comes to mind is a5, but perhaps this is not the move that he played, right? If it's not, I will try to guess.
Actually, I made a mistake. A5 is the next move. The novelty comes the move later. Sorry about that. Yes.
Okay.
So now the problem that I felt, I mean, this is a very standard thing, but I'm pointing it out because somebody else might find this valuable, is like normally white wants to play a3 with the idea of b4. But the problem is black plays a4. And now you can't play b4, or rather you can play b4, but then black captures en passant. And then rook b3, and this white structure is really bad. Not bad, but maybe white doesn't have advantage.
On the other hand, the b-file is open.
What do you think about this? What do you think about this?
This typical idea in the Benoni, I think, where black plays b5 and white takes a5, b6 on en passant, black takes on b6 back. So a4, b4, a rook b3, a3. Like I don't know. I mean, like need to think, but certainly it's a committal move because white has 2 pawn islands now, right? And black has only 1. And as we know, I mean, it's better to have less pawn islands because it's easier. I mean, the pawn structure is more compact. So the pawn on a3 is a potential target in the future. And maybe black can play knight a7, knight c5, improve into the position of the knight. I don't know. That's one idea that comes to mind for black.
No, but would you agree that b4 is a positional mistake, or do you think it's still playable and it's okay for white?
It depends on the positions. I don't know. Like some positions is fine. Here, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't play.
I was about to make a joke that what about this position? So I think I was sort of worried that let's say he does knight d7, knight c5. It feels like you'd be struggling with some of the weaknesses, but Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like during the game, I just felt this is bad. I didn't even think too deeply about it. But
It looks too committal. If we can avoid going to this line, I think we should do that. If there is something better or safer, so maybe we can play b3 a3. I mean, it's not a typical
yeah,
idea.
that's what I played b3. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. I wanted to point this out that if you can't play a3 because of this idea of black playing a4 and stopping your b3, you can play b3 and then a3 and then b4. So you lose the
and it's
tempo
typical.
because...
It's also similar in King's Indian, I think, where like let's say where we have this pawn structure c4, d5, e4, like white pawns, and black pawns are like d6 and e5, and let's say black pawns is also on a5. And white's typical plan is to play b4, c5, and try to create counterplay on the queen side. So if white starts with a3 to play b4, then a4 is a similar move as here. It just fixes white's pawn structure and prevents white from playing b4. But if we play b3 and then a3 and then b4, that works. So it's similar idea like in King's India, for example. Yeah, if that makes sense.
And here comes this novelty. Yeah, I think that made sense. I mean, and only problem is I was trying to think about, should we show those lines, and in the video, but I think it's a bit harder. I mean, but I think the general idea, hopefully people can relate to this or look it up.
Yeah. Can we flip the board? I can try to guess his move.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just flip the board. Yes. But remember
right.
that.
I just understand. Okay. The first move that comes to mind most likely, which is not the move, is e4. But I guess I'm just like an aggressive player. I think this is just like blunders opponent d4. But that's the first.
Yeah, exactly. I felt it's not a blunder, but I felt like you can at least have confidence against this. So here, actually, believe it or not, I sort of prepared. I know it's like feels like I'm bad, but I prepared a bit here. I expected that he would play either one of queen e7 or like moves like h6. I even looked at h6, but the move he played is actually maybe I don't know if it's a novelty, but it's definitely unusual of these positions.
Knight b4, knight e2, knight e3, not the idea that I saw, but most likely not. I'm just going with something.
Exactly, he played knight b4. And
a3, knight e2.
Yeah, see, actually, that would be a good follow-up. And it's funny because some other GMs said, knight a2 is a good move here, and with the idea of knight c3, and I believe Spielman even annotated that, hey, if knight a2, knight c3, black can create a lot of trouble before white can get the pawn back on c3. And
it's something. There was a line that came to mind, but we need to calculate in the game. I would calculate a lot before I committed to this as black, because potentially.
No, the funny thing was black's idea was actually very different. Black's idea was just to take on c2
and play c5, or I don't know.
Queen c2, and this is. Yeah, so I was confused. I was like, "What's the idea?" But idea just to play queen e7
and prevent, and prevent b4.
Prevent b4, and I think where I was really confused about is I played b4 anyway.
Makes sense. Okay, I see.
And he played 8 takes b4, 8 takes b4, bishop takes b4, and this is again like a small tactic. The bishop on b4 is protected by the queen, but the queen's also protecting the e5 pawn, so the queen is overloaded. So you can actually take on e5 like I did in the game. And here, I think like if he does queen e5, I believe I can just play rook b. You know what? It's worthwhile playing this. If he does queen e5. Rook b4, queen e2, queen e2, for instance, rook e2, and I think white has a very comfortable position here. I think
just take on b7.
Yeah,
and bishop s3.
And then probably white is even better here, slightly. So so he just put bishop back to d6, and this is the position where I'm sure a GM is going to like scold me. So the next move. I saw the right move in this position. I think the right move is just to go knight f3.
The first move that comes to mind, right? Yeah. I don't say any problem.
It's probably a very good move too, because like I think if takes.
Here white is better. Like white is better here.
Rook e2 and. Is it knight d4 or was it
knight d4?
I'm really confused.
Yeah, knight d4
is playable here. Knight d4 is playable here. So what's wrong? 1 second, I'm confused here. Yeah. Yeah, so knight d4 actually, and this position knight d4 is playable, and I believe that white's actually much better here. So this is actually not a big worry for black. So I don't think black can take on e2. Probably black has to play c5, I'm guessing.
It's a committal move because it weakens the diagonal. I mean, after that, the bishop will be very powerful. Like the g2 bishop will be very powerful in h1a diagonal, and pawn on b7 will be always a target. But on the other hand, what can black do? Maybe play bishop c5 without any.
Yeah. So sorry, this is so the game actually black play bishop c5.
I see.
Yeah, sorry for the confusion. So bishop c5 was played, and I think the same idea that if bishop goes to d6, then go knight back to f3, and now there's a target on d4. So black actually played bishop c5.
Right away. Yeah, makes sense actually. Yeah. He anticipated move knight f3.
Yeah, that's why I was confused, because I can still play knight f3.
And you have what? What's the difference? Yeah, I mean, like you can take knight d4, of course. But how
Yeah,
do you
so I
win the
think the
material
idea
back?
is you can play bishop b2.
Bishop b2. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you're doing fine. Maybe not worse at all. Bishop f5, we just need
Yeah,
to calculate, and then you
bishop
have bishop
f5 might even be
e4.
a mistake. Bishop b5,
Right.
I
Bishop
think, is
bishop
bishop
d4 you have.
d4.
Yeah, yeah.
Bishop
Your piece
d4,
are
yeah.
very well placed, and his rook on e2 will get under tempo. Right. Yeah, so you're clearly
So
not worse. Most likely better.
yeah, so I think this is playable. I think this is totally playable. And so maybe he should not take on e2. Maybe he should play c6.
Right.
Or some move like that. And but then still bishop b2 is coming. I don't know. It looks like it's playable. But I made a mistake here. Here in this position, I actually played f4. Yeah, this
Move.
is
Yeah.
yeah. It's one of those stupid moves where I felt that knight f3 is the right choice, but I thought if I played f4, I have some chances for initiative, and I can maybe I don't know, not scare him a bit, but at least try for some sort of an initiative, maybe in keeping with the theme of the series today.
Right, but still, now after that, you cannot get rid of the weakness on e2, right?
Yes, I think
you
this is the thing that
e3.
yeah, so this game is interesting, but yeah, I think this is a very committal move because you play f4, and there's a couple of ideas here. I saw that bishop d6, bishop e5 is playable, but right now it's not playable immediately. But in the long term, this is a playable idea and just winning this pawn.
He just can play c6 and just do nothing, pretty much. No?
Yeah, so he played c6, right? He actually this game is pretty interesting because he did play c6, and of course there's always this idea in the back of Black's mind to play bishop d6 and bishop takes e5. And so White has to hope that there's enough compensation. So here I just played h3.
I see. Yeah, it seems like going in the wrong direction because like f4 was too committal. Like after that, I mean, we have a weakness on e2, the weakness on e3, and no clear follow-up plan. Maybe g4, g5 seems like the only plan, but still doesn't seem convincing enough just to like create. I mean, those weaknesses outweigh the benefits of h3 g4 plan, if that makes sense. No, it's just a long-term commitment.
I agree that during the game I felt the same. I got a lot of interesting counter chance during the game, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this is a risky plan, and I feel like this is not something you should try at home without thinking of consequences.
In Soviet Union, if I can make this joke, I think they would cut a hand. I mean, from a player who played that. I mean, f4 in the Soviet Union.
No, I agree. I was thinking the same too. Right. I felt like my opponent actually made some interesting comments after the game, and I'll talk about some of those comments.
Really?
Because,
okay.
No, he was actually very frustrated after the game, and I'll tell you about what happened by playing the moves. So I played h3 because I thought, despite all the weakness, I thought I have to play actively, and this is why I like the. I don't want to say I like the move f4, but it forces me to follow a serious plan. He played g6 here, which might be okay actually. And here, White's idea is to play g4. I'm not sure what brought me to play king h2.
Prophylactical move, perhaps, just to move it away from the diagonal. Maybe at some point you can just push the pawn forward, like e4, and if Black plays en passant d3, you can bring the bishop to the a1, h8 diagonal. So which seems actually an interesting idea.
Much later in the game. Yeah, it's sort of funny.
Right. So I can understand that.
He played knight h5, which actually may not be that precise a move because now I play g4 with tempo, knight goes back to g7. On the one hand, it looks like, Black is better placed because he can prevent f5. But on the other hand, it looks like the knight went to g7. I'm not sure I don't know what's your feeling on this.
I mean, as White, I want to play bishop b2 and play e3 and open up the diagonal as White. I want to get rid of this weakness and open my dark squared bishop. This is like.
But do you think this is the right plan for him to do, like g6, knight
I don't know. I mean,
knight g7?
Can we flip the board again? Sorry, I just need.
No, but like,
go back?
So I was actually feeling that. Yeah, so let's say around here.
So that's our move right now. Okay. So what happens if okay, I cannot do that. I was thinking about something still. I was thinking 97, but he can take and play rook b7. I forgot. Okay.
No, you can take with the queen. Actually, you can take
I can do that, but a bit artificial. Yeah, but yeah, that's one way to do that, perhaps. But knight h5, yeah, what he did, I mean, seems reasonable. He wants to play f6. Okay. Or like g6, knight g7, maybe then f6, or knight f5, knight e3 later. Yeah, it's interesting what he did. Like certainly nothing like wrong, I think.
Yeah, now comes sort of a pro tip. Like my opponent at this time of this game, I think he was like 2670 FIDE or something like that. So quite highly rated. So one of the things that when you're playing as very strong players is just play like aggressive and consistently, and people will actually get scared. because this is one of those positions I actually thought, oh, come on, how can black possibly fear this position? But when I saw his face, I could see that he was not comfortable, which is surprising to me, given that he's such a strong player. So sometimes I feel like just playing quickly and playing with initiative,
That's right. Actually, I had a game against him in 2013. It was the European Team Championship, and he played d4. And since his opening preparation is very, very good, like he's well known in chess circles for his opening preparation, so I decided to play g6 and just get him out of theory. He played e4, and then I was out of theory, and I played the Caro-Kann with g6, like let's say, sorry, d4, g6, e4, c6, knight c3. He played d5, knight f3, bishop g7, h3, knight h6. So I developed one knight to h6.
Yeah, I know this developed Gurganidze variation.
Right, and then I played f6, knight f7. So one knight came to f7. Then I made castle. Then I played b6, knight a6. Brought the other knight to c7. Wow. Bishop to b7. So I had this like two bishops on b7, g7, like fan-ketted bishops. Pawns on f6 and c6, and knights on f7 and c7. And then I played e5. So I had a very powerful center because my pieces were controlling e5 and d5. And again, this setup, he played a very conventional move. He played very conventional moves. He didn't like think out of the box, I would say. He just brought pieces to the center, but they were not very well coordinated. So I would just agree with you that he is a very like solid player. And when you attack him, when you play something unconventional, he might not feel very comfortable. This is what I noticed in my game against him 7 years ago.
Oh, wow. And the funny thing is this game was played actually around 2013. So I also played him 7 years ago.
Right.
Actually, it was in 2012, so 8 years ago, yeah. But anyway, close enough.
1 year before.
So knight h5, g4, knight g7. So I actually played rook f2. I was not actually sure what's the best way to continue. I want to play bishop b2 and e4, but I also want to solidify my position. Actually, one of the ideas of rook f2 was that, his plan at some point, I thought that there were ideas for him to play, say, oh yeah, actually right now he's setting f6.
Actually, I have a question. What happens if we play bishop b2 here? I mean, f6, we have knight f3, right?
No, but then the
bishop b2
hanging.
weakens. Okay, so
defend?
More concrete.
Actually, no, actually, it's a good point because d4 is also hanging here. So let's see.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's on the other hand, the f4 pawn also becomes big. So let's say f6, right?
Yeah, let's see. I'm not even sure f6 is the best one, but let's say f6.
Knight f3.
Knight f3.
Yeah, I mean the 4 is so weak. I mean, I don't think
black like weird moves like queen d6. No, queen d6 means there's queen d2. No,
maybe. And 96, you have 96 follow up. Yeah, 96.
Yeah, 96. And then actually the problem is if you play queen d2, there's even rook e3. So I don't know.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah. It feels like doesn't work for white. And maybe rook a2 later, just to bring the rook to the a2.
Yeah, no, I think this is what sort of worried me. So I was like thinking that I need to protect e2 at almost all costs because at least f6, knight f3, and the e2 pawn is protected. It isn't like the greatest form of protection, but at least I don't lose the pawn right away.
Right. Yeah.
Possible.
But rook f2.
No, it's also possible to play g5. I also considered g5, but then I thought knight comes to f5.
Yeah. That'll be too weakening. Yeah. But of course, g5 knight g4 would be a typical idea. But I think again, it's way too committal.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it happened a bit after rook f2. So rook f2, the other thing I was worried about is like he can take on e5, bishop d6, bishop e5. But I thought like sometimes you can sacrifice this pawn.
You'll get compensation for sure. Bishop f4, bishop g3.
So he played knight e6. Yeah, which I also saw. I mean, I was actually seeing it in the context of playing knight f4 or bishop d6 and f6 or something like that. Yeah, so the next move is maybe not the best move. I played king h1.
Makes sense. I mean, like,
I was worried about playing bishop d6, and somehow I just felt like let's say I played null move. What is a good null move here? Bishop b2.
Not easy to find a good. Okay, but look at knight f4. There's knight f4, no? Perhaps I don't know.
Yeah, knight f4 right away. There's knight f4 if you move it. So say bishop.
Yeah, the king h1 makes sense. Yeah. Okay, bishop d2. Okay.
And now let's say bishop d6 or something, and I just felt more nervous about this because there are tactical ideas.
Right.
And because like even g5 is a threat here for black potentially.
Potentially,
Yeah, with the knight hanging.
Yeah, king h1 makes total sense to me.
Yeah, so king h1 is sort of like getting away from the pins. It feels wrong because you're just moving your king too many times. On the other hand, at least you have a knight on e5. Here he played queen d6. To be honest, I forgot what his idea was. His idea is to play f6.
And take the pawn on f4. Okay, makes
Yeah.
sense because f4 is a weakness now.
So here I played g5, basically just stopping the plan and hoping that there's some counterplay. And now
And
he
if he
does
plays
knight
knight
g7.
and what if he takes on g5? What's the idea?
Ah, good question. Yeah, I forgot this too. Knight g7. I think there are two moves here, and I forgot which is the better move. There's knight c6, and there's f takes g5.
It seems like black is faster if we flip the board. Like knight c6, I can take on h3, I thought, right? I don't know.
Yeah, knight c6, knight h3. So hold on. So I have to remember now what's the idea here, if any. Knight g4 doesn't make sense.
Perhaps you have to sacrifice the pawn with fg5, bishop f4, rook a, rook b f1. But yeah, black can always flip bishop
I'm actually
e6.
curious, yeah, what the computer thinks in this position. Yeah, the computer doesn't really like white's position, I think. So maybe this was already a mistake. Fg5, yeah, knight g4. I mean, knight g4 looks like the bishop, but in which case it already feels wrong. Because, I mean, maybe some compensation, but something feels wrong
No,
here.
it feels like, yeah, like our king is exposed and there's weakness on e2.
Here, knight e6. I mean, see, the idea is you can get back the b7 pawn, but but the next follow-up is really cool to play g5.
Queen d8 is also nice. Yeah,
Queen d8.
yeah. G5 is also nice to get.
Queen h4, yeah, that's actually good. So bishop c6, then queen h4 check.
I mean,
and what, king g1. It's playable,
yeah.
but yeah, doesn't feel objectively good though.
From human perspective, I mean, just very hard to play with white.
Yeah, I feel the same. So maybe here he could have just called my bluff and just taken. This might be the best move, taken on g5. Yeah, so I think this is the right move. But I think most likely he was trying to avoid some risk in this position. Maybe he was scared of some attacking chances. So now knight better go to g4, otherwise it's just dangerous. So now he played knight h5. I feel like actually knight bishop g4 actually felt playable. But maybe
that takes away
is,
squares. Yeah. Now the knight can go to f5, h5.
Yeah. So maybe the point is that he shouldn't do that just yet. So he ended up knight g4, knight h5. Oh yeah. Now I played bishop f3 with the idea of like playing knight
h6, bishop h5.
Yeah, bishop h5, and he played king g7.
Yeah. Now you want to bring the bishop to a1, h8 diagonal. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually here I played knight h6. I don't know if this is the best move. I guess he's threatening on f4.
Can he check and play knight f5 after that? So knight h6, knight g3, knight f5?
Oh, that's actually interesting.
I don't know.
G2. Actually, that's interesting. So say king g2 or king h2, which is better?
Maybe you just take and take on b7 and just win the pawn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry, yeah. That's right. I think that's why rook a7 is preparing that. Yeah. So actually, it's good to just put this for the sake of viewers. So king h2, knight f5, knight takes f5. Gf5 is too weakening, or at least feels like that. And bishop f5, b7 pawns hanging.
Right.
So in this position, he played rook a7, protecting this.
Actually, I have a question about that position. Like, just out of curiosity, and we can put Lela 0. So in that position, after rook b7, right? And with king on g2, not on h2, as you put. Yeah, can we go back? Yeah. So knight g3.
Yeah.
What about rook e3 move? I'm just wondering, out of curiosity.
Rook e3. Wow. Rook e3. Oh, not rook e4. Rook e3.
Yeah.
I don't want to take. To win an f4.
I don't want to take. I feel like if I take, I'll be in trouble. I think it's just lost, perhaps. Yeah, just that. Again, I'm just saying without thinking, just what my intuition tells me. So most likely you have to play something like what?
Well, this is a fantastic attacking move, actually.
Bishop g2? Yeah, but still feels like black has enough compensation. I think black is just much better here. Can we just put this on Lela before
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious. Oh no, computer thinks white is better. God, this is just crazy. Bishop g4.
But there's not some. Okay, it's not so much, I would say, no?
Yeah, how can white even be better here? It's shocking to me because it looks like black's attacking.
Well, it's an extra pawn. Extra pawn.
Oh, I see. It's an extra pawn. So basically then white can consolidate. Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
I think, but from human perspective, this is not so simple, I think. No? Because again,
why
the white king is exposed.
Why can't I just go forward? Can you not do rook a8? Or I'm surprised because rook e8 doesn't make much sense. If you cannot go rook to e3 and then go back to e8.
And what about, like, let's say taking queen e6? I don't know. Maybe we can flip the board. I like to analyze this from black's perspective.
Sure.
I don't really. I have this problem. Yeah. So let's take queen e6, and just lose this material. Okay, it doesn't work. No?
Yeah, I'd lose the material because the problem is you cannot take on f4 anymore. So I think here you
rook f3. Oh, he plays rook f3. Okay.
Oh, rook f3. No, I was
see.
thinking rook g2, rook f3. Rook f3, queen g4.
Oh, both went. Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's just, yeah. There's
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because of this consequence we check. Yeah.
No, but rook e3 is definitely a very interesting idea.
Well, this computer think rook h8. No, but.
Oh, come on. I don't like rook h8. It feels so silly.
What? And it says black is better, right? From what I understand.
No, but the funny thing is, like, rook h8 looks like the funniest move. Like, I guess
actually makes
to
sense
play
also.
h6. Now it's
also very
sense.
nice move.
h6 and hitting h3. It's an attacking move. It's not a defensive move. Yeah, so actually this is a good move.
It's possible to find after if there is time to think, of course. Yeah. Bishop c8. Interesting.
Yeah, but I think this is a very tricky position. You have to sacrifice a pawn and then say, like, I'm a pawn down, but I have rook h8, which feels
not
feels
only
very
rook
hard for a
h8.
human player.
I think if you do nothing, it's still like black has compensation because I mean this extra pawn doesn't really tell. My piece more active. I have more space. Your king is weak. So
maybe rook. No, but rook cannot go to a1. Maybe rook c8. Yeah, let's say rook c8.
But that's too passive.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to keep my rook on the open file.
Maybe queen e6 makes sense actually. Oh, but computer finds the tactical repetition e4. Okay, yeah, that's really annoying.
I like rook h8. It's like
rook h8 is a good
puzzle.
move. Rook h8 because it feels like it's the only move that has a threat. You're going to play h6, and,
But rook e6 is not so bad. If you go back, I mean, it doesn't show here, right? Rook e3. But after we play it, but it's not so bad. No, so how is it possible? So it was.
No. I think rook e3 it found this move bishop g4.
And still, it's not such a big deal. I think. I mean, or now white does want to take on e3 at some point. Perhaps.
I think that's what the computer's trying to say, but it's a bit confusing.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe the point is that if the pawn on f4 is protected, you can take e3 later. At some point, the rook will have to move. Maybe that's the logic.
Right. And if I play rook a1 just for fun, just to keep attacking, most likely it's just better. There's maybe no threat.
Rook a1.
It just takes. Yeah, it says everything is fine. Pretty much. Take and queen b2. I want to say take on c1 as well. Yeah, just for fun.
No, but the problem is I don't fully see the idea because I guess you can take on f5 first. Maybe that's better. And gf5 not take on e3. Maybe what I'm confused is if you play like queen b2, then bishop d4 is coming and you win on f2.
Yeah, I would just play bishop d4 just for fun. Yeah, and then bring the queen like queen g6, queen h5,
I think
queen h4.
the best move is rook f3. I think here.
Bishop d4 and rook b1 he has.
Yeah, bishop d4.
Yeah. And then king g2.
Okay. I see. Rook b1 means you can exchange, and you can be an exchange up where.
Yeah.
There's no
and just for fun there. Yeah. Yeah, we can go back. I was wondering about rook e3 move. It looked like
that's a great idea to think about. How can black attack? So I think in this position he played rook a. I'll stop the engine. He played wait, what did he play?
Rook a7
right here. Yes, rook a7 without the knight jumps on g3 and f5. Without that, he just played rook a7.
So can you just take and play something like f5? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing. So take is good, but fortunately the next move is not good.
So do you want to play? Okay, so
f5. So I think in this position, actually, I think in this position white should be better. Maybe not that much better. Maybe according to the computer, just about equal. Okay, then what would the computer say? Not take on h5. Oh, this is so confusing. h5. Okay, so take on h5 here. So the right move apparently to play a move like
f5. Okay. To prevent queen g3. I see.
Yeah, exactly. And this would be a good move. When I actually messed up in this position, I played f5 here.
Okay.
And this is
Okay,
this is probably just too committal. I mean, he messed up after this, but it doesn't necessarily mean that this is a good move. So he played queen g3 right away, and of course, I wasn't scared of it. I thought, big deal. I just sacrificed this pawn, and I thought like he's not really going to take on e3 and allow me to open all lines. But
what else can he do? What else can he do?
I think in my calculation, I just thought that this is something that I'm going to achieve, but I think it's a mistake because
But it's very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting.
So this is where it gets interesting. I play queen c3 check, and here is I think the right move. Yeah, the right move, which is very counterintuitive, is to play king f8 here.
I mean, here's up to calculation. I mean, right? So after queen h8, the white king will be far away from the
No, yeah,
white
this is the line that he had to calculate, and I was not able to calculate this in time. But queen f6 check and king d7, and then black is totally safe.
Yeah, but that's. There are not many deviations from this line, so it's relatively easy, right? Queen f7, rook e7, I think.
Yeah, and then I guess the computer is looking at bishop a3. So basically, this move f5 so quickly was a blunder. But the interesting thing is he doesn't see this. He plays, rook e5, and the game still goes on. And here I played bishop b2, and I think here he can actually play ef2. Yeah, this is a
just
very,
to simplify
very
matters.
sad position to look at, because he plays bishop d6 first.
Yeah.
And I play rook g2, queen h3,
King
and king
g1.
g1.
Yeah.
Yes.
It seems like it's very messy. Yeah.
Very messy. And unfortunately, he played this move, rook a2. And
do you have queen
yeah,
e5? Queen
queen
e5, bishop rook a2?
Yeah, queen e5 just wins, totally wins.
Yeah, that's simple, right? Yeah, it's simple.
Yeah, and then now rook takes a2, and
yeah.
This is just weird because he played this for this move. I must give him credit, because clearly, when he played rook a2, he must have seen queen e5. And the good thing is he still maintained a poker face. For me,
are you sure he saw it? Are you sure?
Okay, after the game, he told me he saw it after he played rook a2. He didn't see it before playing rook a2. Of course, he saw it after playing rook a2.
I see.
And but I don't know, this is one of those things where I'll also talk about his comments after the game, so it's possible he may not be fully accurate. But the funniest thing is I totally discarded rook a2 from my line, because I think I saw this like a move or two before, but I forgot about it when he played it, because it just felt like something was wrong with this move, and I forgot the refutation. So unfortunately, I ended up playing d4 here.
Yeah,
this is actually basically like a big blunder. I think we're both in time pressure, because it's move 33, and I don't know what to say, because obviously queen e5 and rook a2 wins. So I think it's just like when you don't see the follow up, your brain freezes, and
that's possible.
This is what has happened. Maybe I can dissect this and hope that people will not fall into situations like this. In this position, I thought the main active idea is to play d4, and the rook moves, and then I can do c5 and and maybe f6. I just thought this is the way for me to get initiative if the rook is not sitting on a2. So let's say he plays like actually, it's probably worthwhile seeing like if he plays. The problem in this position is most of the lines are drawing anyway, like believe it or not, like e2 or something like that. But let's say he plays like, I guess if he plays b6, what should even be better? He can play queen d4. So I think the mistake I made is I just thought that one of the threats is d4. I overlooked that I really have to switch plans after he plays another move.
Right. Yeah. But that's like a tactic, like pattern recognition, like little tactic that you solve in chess.com. Like as a puzzle,
it feels extremely embarrassing to miss this, because also there was like a set of a lot of spectators, and spectators are wondering what's wrong with like queen e5, and it was really embarrassing. But I guess it happens. You just overlooked it, and suddenly
very, very often it's easier to see some ideas from spectators' perspective than from the player's perspective. So that's understandable.
Yeah, and then the sad part is after d4, he immediately played rook takes b2. This is probably his main counter-attacking idea. And then here I think I actually don't have enough steam to continue. I think d5, bishop e5, f6, king g6. I think I can try. I think I tried a few moves and rook f1, but he found a very good idea. Just bishop f4, and I'll be an exchange up, but my pawns are very weak, and he has a pawn on
king is
e2.
weak. His king is safe.
I think dc6 is a huge mistake. I think this position's already lost. Yeah, it's just 33%. I think it's already lost.
What about d6?
d6. Yeah, d6 computer likes rook d4, but I think you make him think about this move. Like maybe it's not easy in time pressure to play rook d4.
Yeah, but perhaps he would find it. Yeah, because everything is safe.
Yeah, so I think in the game I ended up playing dc6, bc6, and queen d3, and then here he found very nice to finish e2, rook e2, and he just plays bishop h2, and
nice rook g4 check after this.
Yeah, rook g4 check. Yeah, so so I just resigned here. So I think his comments after the game were actually sort of funny, because he says after your early sacrifice, he thinks black is positionally winning, but he felt that he misplayed the game, and he also claimed that he found rook a2, queen e5. So I don't know what to learn from this or what to state about this game. I felt at least you can get even strong players on the ropes, and it's difficult to be precise in these positions. And I think strong players can understand when the position is tactical with initiative. Everybody can make mistakes. Not only if my opponent was, I think, world number 20 at that point or something really high, and so you can be a very strong player and still make mistakes.
I believe number maybe
low,
60, 70. Yeah, not 20, but
could be 60, 70. Sorry,
a very strong player.
I get confused because I played people around 26, 70 in the year 2004 and also in the year 2012, and because of the rating, inflation. You're suddenly you're 40 places down the.
But of course, a very strong player. Yeah, and I agree that everyone makes mistakes in time trouble or in complex positions, and I think this is the way to play against like high rated opponents, perhaps to increase chances.
Yeah, so
So
I
that
think
makes
this
sense from
advice I want to give to people that if you're playing against strong players, even like really strong players, just play constantly with the initiative, and even very strong players will be there's a chance that they'll make mistakes. And the funniest thing was that I was also the co-author of Pico Chess, which is apparently now sold by DGT. And one of my friends is also a co-author of Pico Chess, and he's living in Germany. And he actually showed him Pico Chess, and George Meier was like, "Look at Pico Chess," and he said, "Oh, the other co-author Shiv." And then George Meier said, "Oh yeah, I remember this guy." So like,
Okay.
this game I think is enough to scare him, and he remembers me from like some other contribution, but he still remembers my chess contribution.
Right. Yeah, it was an interesting game, but what we can learn from chess perspective is again, like perhaps f4 is way too committal, right? We cannot play moves like that because they create
No, actually,
holes in the pawn
my
structure.
feeling is, my feeling actually after this game is, this is so weird. I think I came to this conclusion. Maybe I should write a theory on this someday. If you're going to play a move like f4, right, which feels committal and feels like you're bringing up weaknesses, the right way to follow up is to keep playing aggressively. So if you're going to make like a provocative move, and maybe in Soviet school they'll even slap you for making such moves, or cut your
Not
hands
even
off,
slap.
or like
They cut the hands on is more realistic, I think. Yeah.
yeah, but I think I find an exception in the sense that if you're playing even moves that are a little bit like provocative, as long as you follow up like very aggressively and consistently, you're good to go. Much worse is to play an aggressive move but then follow up with very passive moves, in which case you're gonna sort of die very soon.
Yeah, perhaps, but again, chess is very complex, so I think viewers should be careful with taking everything as a general rule, because there are always exceptions. So, but in general, it makes sense, as you said. I mean, if you play aggressively, you have to keep on playing aggressively. But again, sometimes you might be given a position where you have to switch gears and play positionally. So again, there is no head that fits all of the heads, right?
No, the funniest thing is there's a bunch of guys that, just master level, okay, sorry, at that time I was a FIDE master, so I thought master level guys are commenting, and I felt like, okay, I should be able to understand their ideas. So they were saying, hey, just play knight f3. There is no danger for you whatsoever in this position. They were even telling me like, you can draw this in your sleep, Shiv. Why didn't you play this? And at that time I was thinking no, because I didn't want to necessarily draw the game. I wanted to play an interesting game of chess. But they made an interesting point that this should be drawable in your sleep. Why didn't you just play this? If
I'm not sure about drawable. I'm not sure about the evaluation, but yeah, it's certainly just a safer move, and just I think the only I think decent move in this position, not weakening the pawn structure, and we have bishop b2 as you mentioned earlier, and the game continues. Yeah, so f4 is way too committal. I think we were not really
f4 might be committal in the end. I think if you look at it objectively, f4 creates weaknesses, and although it gave me a good chance against a very strong player, I still feel that there are a lot of weaknesses, and maybe it's important to consider that there are weaknesses after such moves.
Mm-hmm. Right. But again, against a player who has more aggressive style than George Meier, I mean, perhaps that wouldn't work at all. I mean, perhaps the player would just take over the initiative and never give it back. But since Meier
that's a very good point. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I was sort of lucky that my opponent is a solid player, even though he's strong, he's very solid. If my opponent happened to be God, if I'm thinking of dangerous players, but if Black is a very strong tactical GM, then I probably would have been dead. Black will play tactically, and I might be in big trouble.
So it depends, on the style of the opponent, perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I really lucked out by that, actually, surprisingly. Okay, so maybe the next game we can look at is your initiative game. I'll open your file. So which game should we look at? I think we looked at Gariev last.
We can do LENDERMAN. It was my last classical game. I think it was interesting against LENDERMAN.
So we don't do game 5, but we continue.
That was that'll be for different. That'll be about positional sacrifice. Yeah, we can do this.
Oh, okay, teams. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we should flip the board for this game.
Yes, yeah, it was, but yeah. So actually, this is my last classical game. I mean, which is funny because it was almost 11 months ago.
In?
It was December 30th, 2000. Yeah, 2019.
2019. Wow, I see. So, and you're Black here. So this is Nimzo.
Yeah. So opening part was that played against a very strong player. He knows openings quite well. So I think he was 26-39 in that game. It was 37. That's a bit higher rated than me. I was 31 at that tournament, but after the tournament, I went up again. So.
Oh, awesome. So
anyways,
D5, G3.
Yeah, so he played
Bogo Indian? Is this Bogo Indian or is it different?
I think it's Catalan.
Catalan. Ah, okay, okay. I think now I understand. In the open class, figured if you play bishop b4 right away, it's a Bogo Indian.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
play d5, then bishop b4 just a Catalan. Because okay,
Right.
got
Yep.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Now bishop d2. This is not one of those positions where you can still play knight b to d2, right? Is
No,
it
this is what I play with white. Actually, it's funny. It's
okay,
exactly
okay,
what I play with white. So white has knight
yeah.
b2, and bishop d2, and even knight c3 maybe, but bishop d2
Yeah,
is the
I
main move.
remember a long time ago, like knight b2 was something that Boris Gelfand played as white, and like really, ages ago though.
I had played in plenty of games with knight b2.
Yeah, knight b2. I guess I was about to just make a passing comment that since you like the bishop pair, and I think a few YouTube videos ago you did a series on your bishop pair with white, I would assume that this will be fitting into the same ballpark.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I don't want to trade bishop. I want to get a dynamic play that are interesting positions. If black plays dc4, I can just give up the pawn after that. I mean, after knight d2. Yeah, but bishop g2, and yeah, perhaps black shouldn't do this, but there is line like with c3, bc3, like bishop c3 and rook b1, and white has compensation. Yeah, I just want to play castle, and I have pressure on the b file on the h1e diagonal. I have some control over the center, so yeah, and I'm fine playing this position with white without knowing theater, just by developing pieces. Yeah, so something like that. So it's more like dynamic, but bishop d2 is more solid, and there's also more theory in that line. And this is what he ended up playing. And I played bishop e7. Yeah, I just tried to play solid in this game.
This is very an important positional theme that people want to should know if they're trying to improve. I actually came to across this theme a long time ago, but it was really shocking. Like, hey, why are you checking? And I'm going back to e7. And I think one of the magical points in this position is, where do you think if black is playing bishop e7, then white is not going to play this move bishop d2. I mean, it'll be really stupid. White will just play knight c3 or something. So the idea is like to draw the bishop to a worse square, spend a tempo, but say, hey, there's no way that white would want the bishop to be on d2 in this position.
Actually, the bishop wants to be on b2. So by playing bishop b4 check and forcing bishop d2, it takes longer time to get to b2. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting nuance, but it's like a significant opening nuance. Bishop g2, castle, now knight b to d7.
Yeah,
I guess this is probably one of the main lines. It's the close Catalan, right?
Yeah. I don't know theory actually. I just know some typical ideas, but not move by move.
Yeah, no, I think one of the funny things is that when I play this position, I'm really curious about your opinion on when masters or like play this position. It's quite common to want to open up the position, d takes c4, because otherwise you feel like you're gonna face like a passive struggle and you might be squeezed out. So I'm just curious, is that not a concern for you at all, or did you think, hey, should I open the
good point. Yeah, good point. But there are ideas like b6, bishop b7, and c5. One idea for black. Typical idea, just develop the bishop to b7, play c5. dc4 perhaps is also a possible line, and perhaps I think we go for c5 in that position. So there are different plans. But I think the main line is playing like knight d7, c6, b6, bishop b7, or maybe bishop a6 sometimes. Yeah, again,
that's
like
sort of funny because this is one of those positions that I would be very scared to close the position unless I knew what I was doing, because I feel like you're far away from freedom. But maybe I've seen many grandmasters play this setup as black, so maybe they're saying, hey, it's not that simple to convert your space advantage.
Yeah, not simple. Black's position is very solid, and perhaps white should try to go for e4, like play knight c3 and e4. I think even there is theory, like if you play knight c3, I have dc4. Not exactly this position, but as an idea. So there is one line where white sacrifices the pawn on c4 and tries to play without it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, let's see. So he played what, bishop f4, and here, yeah, I was out of book, and I just knew some general ideas. So one idea is to play b6 and bishop b7 and c5. And I decided to play knight e4 and try to be more aggressive because, again, I had played against LENDERMAN in the past, and I knew that he was a very solid player, and so I wanted to get some counterplay, some counter chances, not to play a position where he would be comfortable playing for 2 results. So I played knight e4, and the idea is actually to play something like g5, f5, using the fact that the center is closed.
I was about to say it fits well in the initiative theme.
Yeah, but again, very committal because we sacrifice. Sorry, not sacrifice. We like weaken the e5 square, but it's like similar maybe to Stonewall and lines. I don't know. But I knew that this line existed, but I didn't know move by move what to do. So he played h4, and the idea to prevent g5, and I played h6 very fast. And after the game, someone asked me, "Do you know theory?" And there was some like recent modern game by strong grandmasters, and where black did fine. And I said, "No, I just found on the board. It just seems like a very natural move. I just want to play g5." So I didn't know that this line is actually quite topical nowadays. I mean, and he played something. What did he play?
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting thing we're talking about. So I felt that sometimes GMs play logical moves that just feel right versus studying theory. Did you study similar positions, or did you just?
No, I mean, it just makes sense. Since I already played 94 and the idea is g5, he plays h4. So how can I renew my threat of playing g5? So h6 seems logical. Plus, actually, I'm very happy when my opponents play moves like h4. We saw a game against Gareev yesterday, right? And when my opponent plays h4, I want a great counterplay. So now I'm even more eager to play g5 because white already exposed his king by playing h4. No? So h6 came very naturally to me. But perhaps, I mean, I was just lucky that this move is subjectively fine. I mean, that I'm in time to do what I want. Otherwise, yeah, maybe I'll be just creating weaknesses.
Yeah, I've also seen this with many strong players that you somehow relate logically and I don't know, by feeling. So both of them interplay together. So I think you just had a good feeling about this position, and theoretically, it's less likely to be so dangerous if you had a good feeling.
Yeah, I don't know. I just it was I didn't even think. I mean, yeah. So he played 93, and now g5 again is very consistent. Otherwise, why did I play all of that?
This does look scary, actually, to me.
It's very interesting position. Yeah. So he took. I guess he has to take. I mean, I think Elianov, there was some game against Elianov Stembulek played 10 days before this game, which I think I saw, but during this game I had no clue that it was played in the exact this line. So he took my opponent and played bishop e3. And what do we do here? So I think it's interesting.
The idea is that if knight takes e4, I guess you can just take back with the pawn. Actually, yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, I just win the material, right?
Yeah, you win material. Yeah, d4.
Double attack, right?
The knight and the bishop. I was worried a bit about mate threats on h7, but I don't think it's any danger for black. So, so essentially, he's forced to play bishop e3.
What do we do here? That's a very interesting question. So, what do you think?
Yeah, this is one of those things where, okay, so.
Honestly, I think it requires deep dive in the position.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking carefully. F5. Yeah, I mean, clearly white wants to just take on e4 and,
you win the pawn. Yeah, that's yeah. So we have, let's say, 3 move candidates, like one F5, move the knight to d6, or take them on c3. So 3 move candidates.
Yeah, for me, taking on c3 feels like the least promising because your knight is well placed on
Makes
d4.
sense. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Just helps white open the position, and we just trade our good piece in the center, and our king is just exposed for no reason. So let's say F5 and knight d6. So
yeah,
which move
I have a preference to F5, but
okay. So if I just strengthen the knight, what do you think your opponent would do there?
Okay, CD. No, probably. CD. Yeah, he probably wants to play CD. But then CD, can he play just ED?
CD is a very responsible move. Why CD is?
Yeah, CD is not a good move, I guess. Yeah.
But why? Why? I think it's important for your to understand. Why CD5 is a concession?
Yeah, because I guess white's giving up the center.
Not only, it also improves. Activates my light squared bishop on c8, right? I can play ED5, and my bishop is playing. Right now, it's pretty much dead on c8.
I didn't even consider.
Right.
He takes d5. Huh.
But what else can white do after f5? Which is, again, I didn't analyze this game with a computer deeply. I just checked after I wrote an
That's
article.
Good. Then we can get a GM sort of intuition.
Right.
So F5.
There's no
one option is to take on e4 and play knight e5 or something. But,
okay, I don't know. So knight e4. Okay. Perhaps that's what I consider in the game. I think I would take with the e pawn, or with the d pawn. Sorry, d pawn. At least I was thinking. Yeah. Knight e5.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What can I do? Maybe I can take. Maybe I will not take. Maybe bishop
I think
f6
you can't
first.
play f4 yet, right? Yeah, it looks like
yeah, it's too dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, too dangerous.
Maybe bishop f6 I can play. Just ignore the guy. I don't know. For some reason, I'm not scared about this continuation. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and then let's say rook d1. I don't know.
Queen e7 maybe. Let's bring the
Queen
queen
e7.
over. Oh, so
Yeah.
it's a blunder. It's a blunder. G6. It's a blunder. No. Maybe queen e8.
Sorry.
Queen e8.
Yeah,
Sorry.
queen e8. Sure.
Something like that. Maybe again. I didn't think deeply because I saw another like one pleasant continuation. That's why I didn't play move f5. So let's see what else can he do from human perspective. That yeah. So I played 96. So f5.
Yeah. F5.
I didn't like the queen c1. Queen c1 I didn't like. So now I mean
I
I
have
have
funny
to.
because I was actually looking at g4, but the queen c1 is a more resolute way of playing the same.
Yeah. So why doesn't weaken the pawn structure? Attacks my pawn. How does he attack? Well, he wants to play knight e4, and I attack on g5. And yeah, so now my pawn on g5 is under pressure. And let's say I play g4 myself, but after I play g4, I just weaken more squares. So I can play knight e1. That's what I thought during the game, and then knight d3, and like he has a f4 square, and I was not sure what I'm attacking. And eventually he can maybe play f3 and open up the position favorably. Not now, but because I have knight g3, but in the future. But more importantly is that he has like knight e3 and then bring the knight to f4. Like White will get a very solid position, which I didn't want my opponent to get because again, Alex Lenderman is a very solid player, right? So that's why I decided not to do that. And I played knight d6 instead, trying to keep the pawn structure flexible.
Well, yeah, this is an amazing amount of insight because yeah, it's not obvious at first that after f5 white has like yeah, I guess what's very tricky in this position is you play f5 and we should be scared of the sort of passive move.
Actually, we can see what computer thinks. Maybe computer thinks f5 is stronger. I remember it was not like computer was not against it.
So here knight d6. The good thing is it likes knight d6 more than f5.
Yeah.
And the computer is scared of f5.
In the queen c1.
f5 and queen c1. Yeah. So this is sort of funny that the intuition is coming strongly.
Yeah, but g4 knight e5, not knight e1. Okay, but perhaps yeah, knight e1 is also fine. There's no difference absolutely at all. Zero the difference. No. Yeah. But what's more important, like knight e1 is also much better according to computer, and from human perspective, it makes more sense perhaps. Because yeah.
Well, the computer actually is feeling knight e5 is stronger than.
Oh, now it thinks it was like pretty much equal before.
Or yeah, maybe they're both equal. Yeah, maybe they're both equal. Yeah, from a human perspective, I guess knight e1 makes more sense because this knight is not well placed on d7.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And knight can this knight can be more useful to this.
Actually, now it's stronger. Knight e1 is stronger. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking how to understand this position from human perspective because at the beginning I was convinced knight e5 is stronger because you want to attack, but the problem is maybe you didn't like it because you don't want to trade these knights off and you want to keep.
Yeah, it just gives knight e1 just no commitments. Pawn structure remains the same.
It's good to keep more pieces on the board. Is that the point? Because actually, no, that doesn't make sense.
No, I think it's about square. I just didn't want to. I didn't see the follow-up plan here. Like again, and I was giving up squares to my opponent's pieces, and again, my opponent was a very solid player and didn't want him to get the position where he would know where to place his pieces. I wanted to keep the game unbalanced. That's why I played knight d6. Here the position is quite like I don't know, like the construction is fixed.
Point. After knight e1, he knows one needs to play knight d3 and
yeah, it doesn't require much thought this position. Yeah.
Yes, that's a good point. So actually, the idea is just to
Yeah, we can turn off the computer. Yeah.
So knight d6. Wow, this is actually really counterintuitive.
And he played a bad move, like from human perspective. I think he played quite fast, right? So computer says b3 perhaps makes sense, yeah, but it's just playing cd5 opens my bishop, right? It's just like I'm very happy. Okay, right now the bishop on c8 is out of the game, so it's a concession from his side.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about c5.
Like both c5 and b3. C5 feels
c5.
Odd.
Yeah, exactly. c5 I would be also happy about because it releases tension on the center, and maybe it's easier for me to play e5 in the future. Yeah, so it would be, and maybe the computer sees some lines because from human perspective, c5 knight e5, I have threat of like knight e3 first of all. He moves the bishop, I have g4, and then knight d4. So from human perspective, I mean, I think like most players would just
computers happily playing bishop c1. What could the idea be?
Yeah, so that's from computer's perspective. From human perspective,
I see it now. I think the idea is that computer wants to go knight h2, and if you take on d4, white will be able to take on g4.
That's not human. That's most players would.
No, definitely. It's scary. It's scary.
That's why c5, concession. Perhaps b3 makes sense.
B3 is good. The only thing is, how about taking twice on c4? I guess.
Yeah, but if you flip the board again, like you flip the board,
flip the board.
And look at the position. Like look at the black king. I mean, like I outplayed this position with white happily. Like maybe bishop c1 back and just play without too much thinking. Maybe there's something stronger. Yeah, bishop c1.
Yeah, it's like a pawn sack, but I guess what you're.
the position is open. I mean, plus, I mean, black played g5. I will play like rook b1. I will just, I don't know, just seems very natural to play with white this position. It's very hard to do it with black because his pieces are not very well developed, like bishop on 3,
maybe I
rook on
think I
8,
sort of
king is
understand
exposed.
that there's no stable outpost for any of the knights. Knight can't go to d5. There's e4.
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
knight on c4 is not going to be there forever. Okay,
Yeah.
so basically the point is, this is again where intuition is very handy. The point is that white is going to be a pawn down, but black pieces can't get into the game and they can't occupy the
King
center.
is weak, yeah.
So,
king is weak, and again, I would play dc4. I'm quite sure about that because I like to play with
the
initiative.
funniest thing
Here, I
in
give
this position is like the king is weak, but it's not like you have a clear mating plan. You can't play king h2, rook h1, king
I have
g1.
long-term compensation, long-term compensation, which we'll discuss in positional sacrifice.
I was about to
video.
say, we'll talk about positional sacrifices. We'll talk about this sort of theme. This actually, to be honest, is actually perplexing me in the sense that I understand it after being explained, but during the game, if somebody were to play this, I would really be worried about this. So I would.
Right, and also perhaps he played CD5 because again, he's a solid player. He's a solid player. He wanted to get some clarity for the pawn structure.
And then I feel better about it. So if Lenderman himself is fell for this, so he probably also wasn't able to fully work out b3 and do this pawn.
No, he didn't. He played CD5 very fast. He wanted to just clarify pawn structure. Perhaps because his style is like solid. You can turn off the engine. Yeah, you did already. Okay, good.
I think
so ED5.
This is info from our previous position.
Yeah, we can. Turn off, flip the board back.
I'll flip the board back. Right. Okay.
And here, what white starts doing, he starts playing very like natural moves, but not how to say it, like very challenging. It's like he plays general mechanical moves, like just developing pieces just to some like seemingly good squares. But I think he lacks some like coordination for those pieces, which I think is a very subtle point. I mean, like it was similar to what when I discussed my game against GEORG Meier like 7 years ago. It was very similar. I gave up the center, and he just brought rooks to this like to e1 d1, like bishop somewhere there, and it seemed all nice. But in fact, nothing like really worked, and black still did what he wanted. I mean, so it goes into some deeper like nuanced waters where white lacks coordination, in my opinion. I mean, well, maybe not in exactly this position, but maybe a few moves after that. After white also wasted some time with move b3. So what is our plan now? So I would like you to think here. Like, how can we, develop our pieces? Because right now our development is pretty bad.
Yeah, no, it looks like, okay, so I think this bishop needs to come out of the black pieces to develop. This bishop is really looking weird here. So there's like, so it's a knight f6 or knight b6. Problem is knight f6 fails tactically to,
anything,
maybe anything, but g5 pawn is hanging. So it looks to me that there's only one plan, knight b6. You can also maybe play rook e8 and knight f8 or something, but it feels too slow. So knight b6 seems like the only plan.
Yes.
In this kind of position, I guess it can't be too slow. So okay, so knight b6.
Yeah, in this position, I would saw my next like 5-6 move. I could play them by hands. I was very happy because I had clarity for my pieces. And he didn't feel that. He just played again very slow. He played b3. I mean, position like that, white has to like punish black for playing g5 and try to open the center like for the e4. But he kept on wasting moves like on b1, on b3, and black did exactly what he wanted to do. So I brought my piece in next moves like bishop f5, bring the bishop into the game. Okay, queen c1, natural move.
Queen c1, okay, queen c1, yes.
Okay, f6 again, natural, not g4, because g4 would just give up the f4 square, so f6. So
that's sort of interesting. I guess g4, he would just play knight h2, but he would go after knight h, the f4 square.
Yeah, not much to think about. The f6 seems like the only move. And he played, what did he play? Rook e1, knight h2. I think knight h2 at some point he played in this game, right? Yeah, knight h2 here, I think.
Knight h2, okay.
What do we do here? Another interesting question. What does my opponent want?
And I see a bunch of plans. One is bishop d2 and e4. Well, I mean,
he cannot do that.
E4. It's too slow. Yeah, it's too slow. Maybe I don't know. G4 and f4 is probably too aggressive.
Yeah, that would weaken the e4 square.
Wow. So I'm actually.
He wants to play e4, right? Because again, my king is exposed. I played g5 and f6. I mean, so he wants to open up the center, which is usually a good strategy when once your opponent makes some commitments on one side of the board.
But it's a bit slow, right? He has to play bishop d2, rook d1, then e4.
I think he wants to play f3, bishop f2, e4. He wants to play f3.
F3, bishop f2, e4. Yeah.
That's why he moved the knight from f3. So that seemed natural to me. That's why I thought, okay, I have to do something in 3 moves to cover e4. Otherwise, I might be in trouble, right? Perhaps not a big trouble, but that'll be unpleasant if he manages to do this. So our goal is to bring our piece into the game such that we prevent his idea again. Like, on the higher level in chess, I mean, we want to pursue our ideas and prevent opponent's ideas, like both, like if it's possible in the position. So how can we do this in this position?
So you want to prevent f3, bishop f2, e4, yeah.
Or if we control e4 square, let's say with rook e8, bishop f8, he'll play rook e1, and again it will threaten e4 on the next move. So he will be protecting e4 square 4 times with pawn on f3, bishop on g2, knight on c3, and rook on e1. So how can we protect this e4 square? Not protect, but how can we cover it that many times ourselves? No tactics. This is just, yeah, positional puzzle.
I mean, some ideas come to my head like queen d7, rook e8, but it's also a little bit slow.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's good. Why? I mean, I want to bring this rook on e8. My rook on e8 is like not playing. My queen is not playing, and by bringing the other rook to e8, my rook will be doing something. That's why I think rook a to e8 makes more sense than rook f to e8. But more concretely, so let's say queen d7, f3, rook a e8, bishop f2.
Yes. When they're starting e4.
How can we prevent e4?
Okay. Like bishop
how can
d8.
we do that? Bishop d8. Let's say he plays rook f e1. E4 is again a threat.
Can we play? No, I guess knight e4. I was looking at. No, you cannot play knight e4. Sorry, there's a pawn on f3.
Right.
So that's just stupid.
How can we cover e4 square one more time?
Can you play queen h7?
Yeah, queen h7. And again, in some positions I don't see ideas, but here I just saw all of this moves like a flow. You know, like it just seems so natural just to play all those moves because it seems like this is what position asks for to bring the pieces and then bishop d8 and queen h7, and that's it. White has no plan of e4 anymore. No. Yeah, so that's what happened in the game.
Wow, this is pretty amazing. So f3, rook e8, f2, bishop d8, okay, queen h7.
And that's it. White has no plan. Like it's just better, I think. And like White has no plan whatsoever. If he goes for f4, like a terrible move. I mean, I think some people suggested that in the past. I think my students, and that we can, and not here like g4 f4. The idea that it weakens e4 square. White doesn't want to do that. If he wants to like play maybe g4 bishop g3, is what he did. But after that, he still doesn't want to play e4. So
that's good. This is almost like, it's funny because the whole the topic is of the initiative, but actually this is again exercise in prophylaxis because it's all about preventing your opponent's plans.
Yeah, I think black just gradually improved the position. Like I think black is just better. I wonder what computer. Okay, actually, what does computer think? Will it find before like the idea from before queen d7? Before queen d7.
Before queen d7.
Maybe it's just not the best continuation, but to me it looks very, very natural. Like,
so before queen d. Wait.
Yeah. Yeah. So before that, 2 moves more. Before. Before.
Yeah, basically it just thinks that white is.
It sees everything worse. First line. I'm so happy. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it sees.
Should be 2. Yeah, queen h7.
And just black.
But it looks.
I agree with script.
No, but it's funny that it looks like computer is saying that e4 is a main move here.
But it's just because it realizes how bad White's position is, perhaps, no? Like it gives very low. I mean, like 33% in the.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, but actually it's sort of funny because d4 White wants to play d5.
Yeah, but that's maybe becomes obvious with an engine for a person like.
Yeah, no, it's scary. Yeah.
Why would they play e4?
Why would you give up a pawn?
Yeah.
No, it's funny because it doesn't look that White's position is this desperate by any means.
Yeah, but I also felt like White has no plan. I mean, like literally there's no plan. Like e4 is only plan, it has been prevented. So how can White promote?
Can he play g4, knight f1, knight g3? Yeah, but it's too slow.
I'll go for once he plays g4, it gives me another hook. Like he pushes, like puts the. It will allow me to open the position further by playing. Which move you think after g4?
g4, I don't know. I'm just thinking bishop g6 and f5.
Yeah, f5 it will allow me to. Yeah, so I think something. Yeah, we can turn off the engine again, perhaps.
Yeah, it's off already. So
okay. Yeah,
he actually ended up playing g4. Okay. Bishop G6.
Yeah, bishop G3. What do we do in this position? Also interesting moment. No, okay, computer shows something, but I think other move makes more sense than this.
No, for me, it's rook E6 is the most unnatural move. So, I mean, I would play bishop C7. Hold on. C7 and there's E4.
Which piece can be improved? Which piece is doing absolutely nothing?
The knight on B6.
Yeah, so knight B8, I think, again, comes very natural to me. I want to keep my knight on D6. Actually, in this pawn structure, in Carlsbad pawn structure, have you, like, do you know, like one classical game?
No, I know, of course, yeah, classical.
Bobotsov against Petrosian. Bobotsov against Petrosian.
Yeah, I heard of that game, yes.
And also Portish against Kasparov from Shelefteo World Cup 1988. So it's about knight D6.
Yeah, it's important to analyze these games maybe in a future video. But I think the key point in those games, I just remember the following, and correct me if I'm wrong. Bobotsov Petrosian, white was very passive, and black just kept the knight on E6 and had a dangerous attack in the end. And the Kasparov Anderson, right? Or no, I'm confused.
No, Portish Kasparov.
Kasparov Portish. Okay, Kasparov Portish. Was Kasparov black in the position or was he white?
Yeah, Kasparov black. Yeah.
Okay. Then again, I remember that the knight on D6 is important in these positions.
Yeah, it was pretty similar to Bobotsov Petrosian's game. That's why it shows like how important it is to study typical plans. I mean, pawn structures and so forth. No. So with knight on D6 covers E4 and also prevents B4 B5 idea. Here B4 B5 doesn't make any sense, but in typical Carlsbad pawn structure, the idea of B4 B5 plan is called the pawn minority attack, is to clear the weakness on C6. And knight on D6 prevents just that. And whenever white plays B4, I can also jump to C4. So that's why I always I was admired by knights on D6 in that pawn structure. So again, knight B to C8 made sense to me because I want to bring another knight if he takes bishop D6.
And then very quickly, for the sake of making it clear to people, let's say the typical plan in this position may be not applicable right here. It's a play B4 and B5, and so the idea is B4. I'm just going to make null moves now. King H8.
Yeah, here, maybe we can show some. Okay, so makes sense.
Yeah, and then say. Not knight A4. How would you continue?
We can just say like black has opponent C6. But again, this is not applicable to this particular game.
Yeah, it's not amenable to this particular game, but there's a typical white plan. And I think the other point to make is that the knight on D6 stops this plan because it controls key squares like B5, C4, etc. And so the whole point is that it's good to keep the knight on D6. So that's why he just played knight BC8, because if white captures, you capture back with that knight.
Right. But if capturing on D6 again, it looks like a terrible idea for white because like the entire complex of dark squares will become weak. Right? Like I would bring the bishop to C7 and B8 H2 diagonal. So that would be a terrible positional decision. They would cut both hands in the Soviet Union if white played this move. Right? Bishop D6.
Bishop D6.
If white played bishop.
Yeah, bishop D6.
That's just like weakens all the dark squares in the position. Yeah.
No, that's a very funny point.
So
not definitely anti-positional.
Yeah. And my opponent, he played E3, I think, right? Or
he played E3.
E3. Yes. Perhaps he wants to play Rook D2, Rook E2. I don't know, but again, very, very slow. And here, actually, I mean, after that, I think I played F5, right? That was still logical to me.
Yeah, this actually, I'm getting some memories from the Bobotsov Petrosian game. So maybe we should post a link to this game.
Later, but it's a completely different position. That's completely different pawn structure. Yeah, so
it's a different pawn structure, but I think the point is that black can be active in these kind of positions.
Right, in Carlsbad, yeah. And he played Rook. I don't remember what he played. 92?
92. Well.
Yeah, and here I had, spent a lot of time thinking because I was at the crossroads, and I ran out of logical moves. Before that, everything looked like a flow. I could play with my hand for 10 moves, but now I didn't know all pieces are in the game. And I have to make an important decision. So here, I spent 20 minutes or so. And so bishop A5, I still played just to see what he does, I think.
I like this
knight C3
because it's forcing either his knight to come back or his rook to go back.
Knight C3, yeah. And I think in this position, I spent a lot of time. Why? Because I can play F4, which seems very tempting because it just, restricts bishop on G2 and knight on H2. And also undermines the pawn on D4. But the pawn structure is completely different after that. And second, there is always this opportunity to play FG4, knight F5, knight H4, and try to open up the position. So I was not sure whether I should go for FG4, knight F5 or for F4. But certainly it was between those two ideas. What do you think?
Yeah, no,
what's a possible thing?
Yeah, I feel like a good preparation move might make sense here.
Because I don't know what else to improve because all pieces are already on ideal square. So I have to make some decisive actions, I think. I mean, so I really don't see any like move that can improve the position. The rook on f8 is on the right place. I think rook on e8, knight on d6, like all of the pieces. So I have to attack, and I didn't see like the best possible continuation.
So
in
is
the
it possible,
practical
like,
game,
yeah, no, I guess it's hard. Like, I was just thinking, rook f7, queen h6, and rook h7, but maybe it's a bit slow.
That's an idea, but now there's bishop on g3, right? So, and he can
No,
play
I mean,
knight
or
f1.
can you play? Yeah, I see. Okay, so queen h6, rook f7, and f4. I guess the same. You can develop. You can defend.
Yeah, perhaps we could do that. Yeah, but for now there is still like tension in the center. I don't know, but perhaps I wanted clarity myself in this position, like because right now I mean, yeah, white can take on f5, but maybe white can do something else. So I wanted to again to play decisive move like fg4 or f4,
Yeah,
trying to
that's
increase
such a good point.
initiative.
f4, fg4.
What does computer think?
FG,
I think both are possible actually, not just out of
yeah,
curiosity.
actually, I was about to say that for me, f takes g4.
Yeah, f4 makes sense. Yeah,
looks better. But
makes sense.
but the computer likes f4. Okay, wow.
Yeah, and it looked again natural to me during the game, right? But I was afraid for some reason to change the pawn structure, and I wanted to attack because again my opponent was a solid player, and after f4 I have like a huge positional like I think advantage, but I think little chances for attack after that. I would have to switch to positional gears. If I go for fg4 knight f5 plan, I just attack. I just go blindly for the attack, knight h4 and so forth. No, and this is what I end up choosing. I mean, although objectively, yeah, but not the best continuation perhaps. Yeah. So
interesting. So maybe we can play a few moves just on the f4 plan because it looks very interesting. Yeah. So take g. For hold on, I'm trying to understand.
That's what
so bishop takes f4. Bishop f4.
I have bishop c3 in the end always. Rook e1, bishop c3, and queen is overloaded and so
on. Ah, okay. Queen is overloaded. So you have to go to f2, and now take, and probably take the rook, and yeah, I guess you can do knight b5.
Well, here, yeah, but then perhaps white could have played rook e8 before that instead of bishop f2.
Ah, yeah, that's true. Yes, actually, that's a good point. Rook e8. There's no,
that's what I saw, and bishop, and also sort of like bringing knight to e6. Yeah, and again, it felt like black has a huge like advantage because again, like the terrible pieces on g2 and h2. Knight is coming to e6, maybe then on g5. There's weakness on d4. Potentially, maybe I can bring something to e3. Bishop on e5 is also creating some pressure, but I didn't see like concretely what to do after that. And I wanted to attack in this game. I already was in the fighting mode, so I decided not to do that. Perhaps I had to be objective and play that, but I went with my style instead. So I spent a lot of time and played bishop d8 back, I think. And he quickly played knight e2 back. He wanted to repeat moves. And I think
I guess, yeah, you could play bishop f5 one more time. Actually, out of curiosity, did you consider repeating once more time or?
Well, I'm always afraid to repeat too many times because my opponent can claim a draw. So
I see. Okay. You could do one more time, I guess.
Yeah, I just played f4 quickly. I just went into. I got into crazy mode. Just
I guess in the psychologically, you're telling him, "Hey, I don't want you to draw." So you're.
Psychologically, yeah, and psychologically I was very happy when my opponent plays. He played 92 very quickly. It was clear that he's in defensive mode, which again boosts my confidence during the game. I know that I can just go and attack, and those things should not be underestimated on the higher level, right? I mean, like not only objective strengths of the moves, but also psychological pressure on your opponent, I think, and just reading his body language and his moves. Yeah, so I tried to be more confident.
I guess he was sort of nervous after he played fg4.
I don't remember, but I think I was also very nervous. I'm very nervous during game. Right. So fg4, and he played knight g4, and again, fg4 was a very committal move because now his knight is entering the game and standing pretty well on g4, right? And e5 square is also weak. But on the other hand, I have this knight f5, knight h4 follow up, and I attack the pawn on f3. So again, with each move, we try to create threats. So each move is part of a big plan. Before that, everything was to prevent e4. Once we prevented that, we went for f5. And now we just attack. We just try to take advantage of the weaknesses on the king side. So he has to keep the bishop in the game, of course. Otherwise, I mean, I'll take on g3, bring bishop to c7, and dark squares will become very weak.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. Yeah, you can trade and bishop c7.
So,
bishop e5 is funny. I didn't even look at bishop e5. I was looking at bishop f2, but maybe the problem is bishop f2 then bishop c7.
Yeah, bishop f2 would, my bishop would be so powerful. So bishop e5 and then knight h4. Again, makes sense. And then he played bishop rook h1. He played, I think. Rook F1, sorry.
Rook F1.
Yeah. And again, white's position is solid. So if I take on G2, I mean, why would I trade my great knight for bad bishop on G2? Plus, I will
No, I
also
think the
open the
biggest
H-file.
worry, exactly, H-file, the rook's coming.
Yeah, and I'll be most likely much worse there. No? So what do we do here? And here I bluffed again. I felt my opponent was not, he was playing for a draw, and it was important for me to play my moves confidently. So the next move I think is fine objectively. I think Stockfish was still thinking black was better, but it's not the best move. But from a human perspective, it's the most like how to say it. It's just you go all in. You just want to go like how to say it through the wall. I mean, towards your goal. So which piece can we bring into the attack that is not playing?
When I say it like that, I guess it's more obvious, but I guess
because which piece I also this I'll not ask because it's a simple question. His two most active pieces are bishop on e5 and knight on g4. I want to trade this knight on g4. It's really annoying because I mean the tricky piece it can always jump somewhere to f6 or h6 and it protects his king and the e3 pawn. I mean, so how can I try to trade that guy? G4.
Yeah, no, I think when you made it obvious that you want to activate the weakest piece, it became clear. But I think if we just pretend you didn't say anything, bishop f5 is interesting. But the problem with bishop f5 is that the bishop is actually pretty active. So if you trade on g4,
can he play knight g3 as well? Knight g3.
Knight g3, yeah. So say knight g3, and you take something.
No, I mean I think he's fine. I mean, like his pieces are active. Maybe the knight will come to h5. Rook is playing on f1, and my king is also exposed, right?
Yeah, no, I think that bishop is actually a bit. You don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to give. I don't like. I love bishops, as you already know. I don't want to trap my bishop for the knight. In my little world, is this in?
No, that's a very good point. I mean, it feels natural, but no, it's not, maybe it doesn't feel natural. Feels like an option, but it doesn't look good to spend two moves to trade off a bishop for a knight. And the only other move that's interesting, I guess, is knight e7 with the idea of knight f5.
Yeah.
And at first, it's easy to reject this move because you say, hey, white just plays knight f6 check, forks the king, queen, and rook. It's like the family fork. And but however, after rook f6, bishop f6. As you already pointed out, that this knight on g4 was a very well-placed piece. Here, I think you can sort of sacrifice the exchange and maybe play knight
f5. And here, and this is where I stopped my calculation. I just felt, I mean, like I have a lot of attacking moves, and in the mutual time trouble, like I think we were both under 10 minutes, and my opponent being a very like how to say it, solid player. And clearly he was already playing for draw. That would be very unpleasant to play this position, right? Because it's a mess on the board. You have to calculate. You cannot use general ideas. Like
can he take on what happens on take and e4?
I don't remember, but we can check what computer thinks before that, right? Actually, can we go back and check? I think that's not the strongest what I did, but I know that black is fine objectively still. Yeah. So before that, before 97, before 97, yeah, before 97. I'm just wondering, like, knight b6, knight d7. That's to trade the bishop, okay, but. Yeah, so there are plenty of good moves. Even a6 almost as good
even
as
the biggest surprise is it likes bishop h5. Why would you like that?
And bishop f5 is also there.
Why would you like this?
But it doesn't take. It still takes and plays 97 there.
But yeah, knight b6. I see. It's interesting.
That's not really human. No? If I want to play that, I could play knight b6 right away.
Which is the first it's confusing. It's confusing to play bishop h5 and then knight b6. You can just.
Actually, I think one of the. There's one cool idea which we could see late in the game, which I didn't play, but I always paid attention to it. Was like, let's say knight b6, knight d7, take twice on e5, sacrifice in exchange, but get
g3, knight d7.
Yeah, some null move, as you say.
So let's say I don't know. Rook
I want to sacrifice in exchange. I feel take and play bishop b6. Maybe bishop 7 is stronger. Yeah. So
I will not take one more time. Rook takes e5.
Yeah, perhaps it was unnecessary, but yeah, and bishop b6 or something. Yeah, something like that. And this bishop is such a monster because it's certainly as valuable as a rook. So white has to play something like rook d4, I presume, just to keep it at bay. So this idea has existed. I mean, try to give up an exchange and play from there. Yeah, but anyways, I think wondering about 97 what happened in the game because I didn't calculate. And So the idea of 97, 95, 96 is to trade the knight on g4. What computers suggest knight b6, 97 is to trade the bishop. So again, we want to trade one of white's most active pieces. Right?
Oh, sorry, I've lost track of the position a little
Before
bit.
that,
So
yeah, here.
97,
so 97.
yeah, 97 right there. Got it, 97.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think from a human perspective, it totally makes sense to sacrifice the exchange because the knight on g4 is really active. The rook on f8 isn't that active, and the knight on f5 will be active too. Yeah, so feels natural. Okay, so he actually played bishop h1 here. He did not.
Yeah, he played very quickly. He didn't even consider knight f6, right? Again.
Did he say anything
Sometimes
after the game? Whether he can?
we didn't talk. There was like it was a decisive match, like Webster against English University, like two strongest teams in the collegiate arena, and yeah, it was too much competition. So it was last round, so it was very very tense. So we didn't really, but he was very nice. We can shook and he was very respectful and everything. Some players when they lose they're not, but he's very nice, like a gentleman player. So yeah, but we didn't discuss. We didn't analyze the game. Yeah.
I guess here it's funny. You can probably still keep sacking your exchange, so you can play any other move, I guess. Or you can, decide that you don't want to sack and play queen f7.
No, but I already played A. I already said A. Now I want to say B. Yeah, knight f5.
Knight f5, I see. Okay. No, this is funny because bishop h5 is an interesting move, saying, "Hey, I'll sack it anyway." So
Yeah, but it just like I like my bishop on the diagonal where it currently is. Like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, keep the bishop on the.
Yeah.
What seems like a strong.
Again, I just sort of like feel where I want to place my pieces, and bishop h5 is I don't like it there. Like I want to keep the h5 open for my pieces, and bishop again on this diagonal. So what did he play here? I don't remember. Rook f no. Knight g3. No, rook f2 he played. Okay.
Rook f2.
Yeah, so it makes sense. He wants to bring perhaps the other rook to f1.
Yeah, knight g3 I think you cannot play because you can take on e5, right?
That makes sense. Yeah, true.
Yeah. Okay. So rook f2.
I think.
Knight h6. Oh
yeah,
wow!
We trade the guy. That guy was too powerful. Yeah.
Yes, I see. Well, after a lot of maneuvering, you trade the guy. So knight takes h6, okay. Queen h6.
Okay, what did he do?
I mean, for me, rook h2 seems worrisome. Oh, I guess he started rook f1.
Okay, rook h2.
It's not really, it's not really worrisome. It's more like the initiative is going in the other direction. Oh, but is there rook f takes f3?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Rook takes f3 is strong.
Maybe bishop h5 there. Shift. What about bishop h5 there? Maybe I don't know.
Bishop h5 is also playable. Actually, yeah, that's true. Attack the pawn multiple times. Oh wow!
I don't know. Maybe still rook f1. I don't know, but still looks dangerous. No, like rook f1. Maybe I can play queen g6 here. No. Because right now I cannot take on f3 because I'm pinned. So I want to unpin myself, right?
No, but I think you can actually take on. Wait, can you take on f3? I'm so confused. I thought you could. So like here, you just take with the rook.
Okay, maybe. Okay, good point.
So because the idea is like if you play rook f3, knight f3, and rook h4, rook f1 check.
And after just a second, if you go back, does he have rook h4 intermediate move?
Good point. Yes, great point. Yes.
H4.
Can he play rook h4?
Yeah. So I don't think we can play this. No.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. Because it feels like there's got to be some follow up here. But maybe not, yeah. I just feel like, God, so many things are like, but yeah, I mean, but maybe it's just not good to like expose.
Right. I'll connect the charger just a second.
Doesn't have anything, but maybe not. No, actually, okay. So
really?
There is nothing here.
It still says, okay. Yes.
No, I think so. So basically, this is a mistake. Wow. Okay. So basically, bishop h5 is important and you cannot take an f3, yeah. I think the point is like not to go for unnecessary risk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you like, I don't know, you only sacrifice when you calculated something, or I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you bluff, of course. It's 97 mode. Just a second, I'm connecting the charger. I can still hear, so I can talk.
Oh, great. Okay. So rook f1, and now wait, I'm so confused. I don't think. Oh, he didn't play rook h2. He just played rook df1. Okay, and now here it's black to play.
Yeah. And what do we do now? Question.
I was thinking of one move, but I was thinking of just rook f7, rook h7.
Great, rook f7. We bring the rook into. We always attacks again. Well, the theme of the video today is initiative, right? So we always want to create some threats. We cannot just like sit and relax. I mean, and let our opponent consolidate. We always must keep him under pressure.
So here, okay, he plays knight h. I think one of the ideas here was like if you play rook h2, you can still play rook h7, and you can
Rook e5,
threaten
right?
rook
Yeah,
e5 and knight
exactly,
f3
right.
check.
Yeah. So again, here I was
Okay,
already
null
very
move,
confident.
yeah, null move here,
Mhm.
knight f3, and if queen f bishop f3, queen h2 is mate. So basically, black has a strong initiative. So let's see, what did he play? Okay, he played knight g3, which at least looks a little bit better.
Right. And here I think I repeated most for one time. Yeah, bishop
Bishop
d3.
d3, yes, hitting.
And again, I was so happy because after he played rook d1, and I played bishop g6, right? And he bent rook
let me
f1
guess,
without thinking.
Yeah,
He went without thinking. And again, it gave me more confidence, right? Because my opponent just dreams about draw, right? And again, that's not perhaps it doesn't matter like in objective chess because position is the same, but psychologically it gives me an edge, right? And again,
yeah,
those things should not be underestimated.
You can take the draw on reserve in the worst case.
Well, I think I was clearly playing for one here. Like I already got myself in the fight.
No, I think it's like some grandmaster to explain this feeling. It's almost like you have perpetual check, even though it's not perpetual check, but you have the equivalent of perpetual check, so you can take a draw anytime. So in such positions, somebody even told me think for a long time. Maybe you can improve and get a better position. And this seems like the same. But
yeah, we are in time trouble. Yeah, 5 minutes I think each or something. Yeah, and yeah, of course we play now rook h7, right? The idea is, if I'm not mistaken, is what I played, right? The idea is just to attack. And what do you think the threat is here?
Yeah, in this case, like, okay, I was about to say the threat might be knight f3, but the problem is he has bishop f3.
Right.
It's not that simple.
No, it is simple, but not by this way.
The other threat I see is f4 and bishop g5, but no, that's not good. Oh yeah, never mind. I see it now. Gosh, it's knight f5.
Right, knight f5, and just white he doesn't have rook h2, he cannot take because of queen h1, and I threaten rook e5, knight g3, right? So he just cannot keep his king.
So I think it's actually worthwhile, like putting a null move here, a4, knight f5, and the threat is to take on g3. Oh god, if I put another null move, then the idea is you just take on g3, bishop g3, and queen h1 mate. And so the idea is to remove this defender of the h1 bishop. And if he doesn't play another null move, there's also not a simple follow-up, because if he does knight takes f5, it's again mate. Wow, so this is actually looking scary.
Yeah. Queen d2, okay. Only move, I think it's only move, right? And here I think I missed, let me check.
At least queen d2 is a good defensive idea. You can counter h2 with the rook.
Only move that I thought during the game. And here, my intuition told me one thing, but I couldn't calculate it. And here I decided to play safe. So there's one safe continuation.
I can guess what is the unsafe continuation. Okay, let's look at safe first. Oh gosh.
Yeah, so let's say we will discuss. So what if we continued our plan knight f5? What changed? Not so much. I still thread the knight g3, right, in queen h1.
But here you can do rook. Oh, I see. So if you do rook f2, you can take twice and take on e3.
Yeah, that was a safe. But again, my intuition was telling me like other thing, but I couldn't calculate. And in the team situation like that, again, was the last round and qualification to final four was at stake. I decided to play safe. I just couldn't see the consequences, and I didn't want to sacrifice in exchange. So the other one was rook e5. I really wanted to play that move.
Yeah, rook e5
and bishop e6. Just look at this bishop. And just play this position. Like white's hands are tight. I mean, this bishop is worth like a lot, like more than the rook, because white can't never open the position.
Yeah, I didn't see you mentioned the exchange stack like a few moves before as well with the bishop.
But there's one thing I didn't see here. I think it's in part of the analysis, right? So let's play next move. I think it's already analyzed. Yeah, just one move for white. Rook e1, I think.
Rook e1.
Yeah, rook e1. Next move I didn't see. Right, next move I just didn't see. What do we do? Like, if I again use this analogy, just going through the wall towards your goal, what can we do here? So the bishop is there. We just need to clear the way for this guy. Again, during the game, I didn't see. Computer says yes. I think just lost for white.
No, I think it looks like d4 is a move for black. But
yeah, d4, e4, and I just didn't see that after knight f5, like white's position collapses. He just cannot hold everything, like d4 and h file. Like rook h2, I have bishop d4 check, and the queen is overloaded.
Oh wow, this is nice. Wow, that's
No, this is just lost because white just position is collapsing absolutely on every square.
And I think the point is obviously if knight takes f5, there's queen h1 mate. So
yeah,
all
that'd be very nice
so
end to the game, right? But yeah.
Yeah, it's funny
Yes,
because in this position, basically your solution is sack and exchange, and then basically what was it? Bishop b6, rook e1, sack a pawn.
Yeah,
and then if he takes, then try to sack a knight as well. Yeah, no,
right,
it's winning. But it's.
I didn't see d4. I felt like I wanted to do this, but I just didn't see the consequences, right? And I didn't see move d4, knight f5.
Yeah, this is really powerful.
And I'm sure computer will show it immediately, right? Like alpha 0. Even Stockfish, not alpha.
Yeah, actually,
alpha
I'm
0.
even wondering, what was the computer saying? Okay, so it is basically saying queen d2. It likes knight f5.
That's strange.
Oh, it sees both lines. It sees rook e5.
Yeah, that's normal. But Stockfish was saying rook e5, not mistaken, like much stronger when analyzed.
Yeah, but I'm just curious. Okay, so this is a pawn up. So let's just see what's the problem with rook e5. Rook e5, de5.
Bishop b6, yeah.
Knight f5. No, bishop
okay,
b6.
that's a good different. Yeah, bishop b6.
Yeah, bishop b6. Rook h2.
Not rook e1, I see. Not rook e1. Okay, d4 now.
But then no, it has to find g4. I see.
And it collapses again, right?
Yeah, it's now. I think it sort of missed this move g4 from far. I think.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I think so. Basically, yeah, this is a stronger continuation. It just
and just goes down in evaluation as you see, right? So it was stronger. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I think this is actually one of when you compare Alpha Zero or Lila Alpha Zero and Stockfish. Alpha Zero slightly worse at tactics because Stockfish would never allow such a chance to it would never overlook like rook h2 g4. It's like really
perhaps Stockfish is in this position because it's not a positional sacrifice. It's just a winning sacrifice. Just calculated so deep, right? Stockfish.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the weakness of neural network engines. They can't calculate as quickly as the non-neural network engines, but they find more positional ideas. Right. And for human, I think it's actually better to study with neural network engines because you can learn more positional ideas and you can play positionally as opposed to.
I think the best is to study without engines. I think.
Oh, that's true.
I think that's the best. That's how I'd be very cautious for that.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. That's the best.
The best way to study is to study with books, classical books.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually another theme we should touch on because I feel like you can study with books, but the problem is books don't talk back to you. So it's a bit difficult. And to be honest, even when I was playing chess actively, that was a little bit difficult because the book author says something and you have to sort of talk to the author when the author is clearly not next to you.
I mean, but that's how chess is. I guess some players became super strong, like grandmasters, without studying classics. But I think those are exceptions. So perhaps I'm just too old. I mean, again, maybe.
No, I think the key point is when studying with books, this actually needs to be maybe discussed separately. But I think you need to make it stimulating and interesting. And I think that's why people find it hard to study chess with a book just by themselves because it's not clear where they should stop. And one of the things I've noticed is that it's much easier to study with some other player because then you guys can discuss positions, etc. And so that's why people try engines to compensate, but I don't think it's the same effect at all.
Right. Yeah.
So let's see. So this game we're going to go over this pawn up endgame now.
Yeah. This was a safe version, in my mind when I played this. Yeah.
And here rook f2. Yes. So interesting. So
and it's just.
I think. No, I was about to say there's also good positional compensation. Our black is also positionally ahead because the bishop at h1 is sort of logged in. And
d4 pawn is a target. It's not like the pawn somewhere.
White cannot play f4 because then knight g4 comes in.
Right.
Forks the rook and the king. So bishop b6 is activating the bishop, and I guess a threat is actually there may not even need to be. Wait, is there a threat?
Well, there are always ideas, like the rook e5, knight g4, but maybe not in this
position.
Yeah,
yeah, but rook e5 and knight g4, I was looking at it, but it looks like it's simplifying, right? So
yeah, not now, but the idea is like rook e5, so that's why
it's like a latent threat at some point. It's playable.
Yeah.
So rook e2. And here, at least for me, I guess knight c2 is it looks dangerous.
What I played, I just want to keep attacking my opponent.
Yeah, just attack two attackers on the. So I think
so rook d2 is forced.
Yeah, he's forced to do rook d2. Okay.
And here I didn't see what to do, and perhaps there is nothing else to do but just try to improve the position. So I played king f7, just king centralization.
Oh yeah, when in doubt, centralize your king.
Again, when it's much time travel, you have to play fast. I mean, right? So, and again, you have to put pressure on your opponent, try to play fast and with confident look and so forth. No, and not just the white's position is worse. It's just
yeah, it looks
very
like
unpleasant to defend.
bishop g2 seems like the only good move for white here, or
Yeah,
not
he
good
wants
move,
to bring
only
the
move.
makes sense. Yeah,
Bring the bishop into the game. Maybe bishop h3 or bishop f1.
but then he failed to keep up with complication. But it was very hard anyways because this pawn on d4 is so weak, right? And yeah, bishop a5 I played. I see.
Bishop f5. Ah, I see.
I just kept on attacking. I was just kept on like initiative, just to keep attacking and don't give your opponent time to like consolidate, like bring the bishop to a better square. So bishop e1, I think. And
Oh,
I'm not sure.
Wow, this is pretty cool.
He played rook f1. Okay. And bishop. I see. Okay. Bishop d2 now.
Yeah.
So I want to trade this bishop on e5 because if I trade, then okay, my rook can invade on e file. E3 square becomes weak, and d4 pawn becomes weak, right? So bishop d2 makes
But I
sense.
assume you play bishop d3, or you play bishop d2. Really?
Yeah, bishop d2 I played.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought bishop d3, but I guess it doesn't.
Yeah,
really...
he can play him of the rook, I think, right?
Oh, okay. Okay. So maybe it doesn't matter too much. I think bishop d2 because bishop d2 has a plan to play bishop f4.
Yeah, positional plan. Yeah.
Knight e2, but then you can do bishop d3.
And then he collapsed.
Right?
Again, there was much time travel. There is no time to think, so he blundered.
Oh, you can just play knight e4. Oh, isn't bishop d3?
But it's already lost because bishop was a very unpleasant threat. So it's just
but
if I
what
play
is it
that
doing
move,
with bishop d3? Is it
rook d1? Rook d1. Yeah, rook d1.
Ah, rook d1. Okay, rook d1.
This I remember. Yeah, there is nothing here then.
Ah, I see. Okay, so there's nothing. Wow,
but it's easy to miss is in time trouble, right? Just to keep attacking, but then yeah, you still have to calculate.
Wow. Yeah, so here I guess you don't want to play bishop d3 along rook d1, so you end up playing bishop.
Knight d4.
Oh, knight d4, right, knight d4 just winning because if knight takes d4, rook e5, bishop d4, rook e2. Yeah, this is a simple tactic. Yeah. And if he plays rook d1 now, I guess you can even just take on e2.
Yeah, just knight d2 rook e5 wins a piece as well.
Ah, yeah, either way. So bishop d4.
Yeah, now it's not. Yeah, we can go fast because here it's just it's lost, but
rook
he kept on
f2.
playing because of tournament situation.
Situation, and you can.
It's just 2 extra points, and his bishop.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter either way. I was about to say rook e1 might also be playable, but honestly, it doesn't matter.
Here again, try to play safe now, and our goal is just to bring the king to the center.
Yeah,
and
I was about to say
create 2
king
fast
d6
pawns.
and c5. Yeah, king d6, c5. Yeah, and bishop b5.
And there was one funny moment because after the game, like the coach of the second coach of SLU team, like Varakobian, like another grandmaster, he told me that not in this position. I will say later. Yeah. So he played bishop c4. Yeah, bishop f5. a3. Yeah, bishop e6 and bishop a6. Yeah. So in this position, he told me after the game, like he thought I would just start pushing my pawns, but I tried to like minimize all counterplay from my opponent and just try to improve. So I played bishop d5 here.
Bishop d5, yeah, bishop d5.
Yeah. I just because I like my pawns on d4 and c5, they restrict the bishop, and bishop on d5 covers everything, and I have g4 threats. I just wanted to improve my position by maximum without like.
Actually, this is a great technical training problem. Like normally you'd be thinking, okay, how would you even push pawns? King e5 and c4.
Well, before that, instead of bishop e6, I could play d3, for example, right? Like let's say here,
d3. I could play d3.
But it opens the bishop on f2 now. But he draws target on c5. But of course, this must be also winning. But this is like a bit negligent, right? We can.
Yeah. Now the good point is to like avoid counterplay and like prevent opponent's counterplay.
Yeah. And now g4 is a threat, so he played bishop c8, the only move perhaps to prevent that. And now d3 is I think stronger now.
I didn't even notice this the defense bishop c8. So, but at least you kept the bishop passive on this diagonal. So, so now you could push your pawns. And the key point is that the bishop is not hitting d3 anymore, so you can go ahead. And actually, I like one really cool thing about this. This bishop on c8 is constrained to this diagonal for the whole game because the moment it moves out, you have g4. So, so in reality, you're constraining this bishop, and this bishop can't do much. So you can actually play d3, d2, and threaten the queen.
And g4.
Yeah, bishop, and so here d2. Yeah, now you can just play g4, winning.
And that's
and
it.
Then, there's actually a nice tactic. It's a stupid tactic, but it's good to see. Like g takes f3, bishop takes f3. Actually, the tactic is not even needed, but you can queen here, or you can.
I think bishop f3 is simpler. I think bishop f3 is simpler before gs3. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Bishop here.
Oh, bishop f3. Yeah, bishop f3 is also playable. Actually, bishop f3 is even simpler. That's a good point. With the bishop f3 and the gf3 is check, and then you queen next move.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, actually in this position almost all moves win, but bishop f3
Yeah,
he was
exactly.
just
Just yeah.
So king f1 is what he played, and well, you can just do bishop takes f3, right?
Yeah, and he resigned after that, right? So yeah, it was
Bishop f3.
a good game. I think it was objectively one of my best games, and it was my last game. Hopefully, it will be my last classical game, but maybe I'll have to play some tournament.
You know, it's sort of funny because in this position you don't even have to queen. You can just play g3 and g2 and just keep
No,
waiting. And of course,
yeah. So on grandmaster
that
level,
doesn't matter.
you
It's a
resigned
joke.
here.
Yeah, no, of course he will resign. But it's so funny that geometrically white is so helpless that you don't even have to queen. You can just play g3 and just like keep
King
moving your
d5.
pieces forward.
Yeah.
King d5. Yeah, king d5 is even maybe also equivalently humiliating for white, because white unfortunately white does not counterplay here. So that's
yeah. So what we learned from this game again was playing with initiative. And perhaps like if we go back is like thinking for our opponent. Like it's very important. It's always important in each position. Like what does my opponent want? And so I mean, we had to ask this question like many times during the game. For example, playing knight a6 or f5. f5 allows queen c1, and we have to play this committal move g4, and then f4 square becomes weak. And again, we always have to keep in mind like the psychological portrait of our opponent. So if our opponent is solid, you want to play more aggressive. If he is more aggressive, you want to play like more positional. Like, so my opponent was solid, so I wanted to play more aggressively in this game. That's why I didn't play like f5 and g4.
And I think the other thing when you look at it from a non-GM angle is that whenever we think initiative, we're thinking, hey, there's going to be sacrifices and you're just going to checkmate him. But actually, this game was far from it, because grandmaster, the strong players will resist. So what happens is, like, even if you have a strong initiative, it'll often just be a better end game, or like material up position, as opposed to like a mating attack.
Mm-hmm. Right. And here, I think, so this is the only moment I gave him chance, right? It was 97. I look at the evaluation, like graph, right? So when
God, I don't even.
Right? And that was a bluff. So that's what I was thinking during the game. That was like a bluff, because I didn't calculate. It just felt, that my opponent would not go there, because I would feel more like a fish in the water, unlike him. Yeah, and after that, it was also going down.
Yeah, and I think we covered a few interesting points. Psychologically, he was not comfortable with these positions. And psychologically, he was not used to defending these positions, at least, and he was nervous, and you basically sort of capitalized on it, and I guess just played naturally for initiative, which is really cool. And I think this is also something where maybe people aspiring to be stronger will appreciate. In this kind of position, you still have to be accurate and play a pawn up end game. Yes, you had another more elaborate winning continuation, but it often happens that your best continuation might just be to win a pawn, and to happy to play the pawn up position is important. And even if you had a strong attack, you should not regret that you're just a pawn up.
Well, yeah, if you don't see anything else, and in the game I didn't see this like nice bishop b6, rook e5, bishop b6 d4 continuation, then you have to play with what you have, right? So go for the extra pawn. But here it's not only extra pawn, but it's also like better for black, even if material is equal, because pawn d4 is weak and pieces are more active for black.
Yeah, so actually you're aided by the fact that bishop on h1 is really weak.
Right.
Right. Cool. Yeah, great game, actually. Great game on initiative and technical play all combined in one.
Thanks. Yeah, but again, I unfortunately only have a limited amount of such games in my career, right? So there's some terrible games as well.
Which makes it the games even more important.
Right. So next time we will see the game against Kramnik, where I played maybe like white in this game. I played 2 passive and 2 general moves, and my opponent just took over the entire board and he just crushed me. And that will be about positional sacrifice, although we can learn, I think, other things as well, like psychological aspect of chess. Like I didn't follow my style from the early beginning, and I gave my opponent like psychological advantage from move 3 pretty much. Yeah, but that would be different, the video series. That'll be on positional sacrifice.
Right.
Yeah, I think we covered initiative.
All of the 2 videos on the initiative, I think going over these games, will really help your attacking play. So when you guys have a chance, it's important to play over these games so that you can really understand how to exploit the initiative to its fullest.
Right. Cool. Okay. Thanks guys for watching, and we will see you in a new video.
All right. Thank you very much.